Within the next 6 months, if you follow our advice in this video, we guarantee you will get 1 or more placements with your loops. It took us 10 months to get our first placement, but if we had known these lessons earlier, we would have had multiple placements within 6 months or less. This video is packed with no bullshit advice that are going to get you placements. So if you are serious about getting placements, make sure you stick around to the end of this video. Let's get into it.
Quick disclaimer before we start. If you're brand new to music production or your samples are just pretty shit at the moment, this may take longer than 6 months. However, if you put all your time and energy into making samples and learning how to make samples every day, just like we did, it will only take 6 months or less. So for all of you watching right now, keep in mind your samples need to be good before you get any placements. The first action you need to take to start getting your samples placed are releasing free sample packs on YouTube. This is undoubtedly one of the main things that have helped us get placements within the last month and a half. Posting free sample packs on YouTube are perfect, especially for the sample makers who are in their first year or two of music production. It's a super easy way to reach a large audience and get producers using your samples from all over the world. It is important with your sample packs that you stay consistent with your releases so that you're releasing every week if possible, as well as keeping your niche as consistent as possible. Having this consistency with your channel will bring in heaps of producers coming back to use your loops, as well as artists looking to use samples to send to their own producers. You need to start doing them. It can take a while, but trust me, you're going to get so many placements that you would never thought you would have got by doing these sample packs through YouTube. The only mistake we made early on with our YouTube sample packs is the first 2 or 3 months we were switching niches, doing Jersey club, drill, and trap, and trying to mix all these different packs into our one channel. If we were to go back and change anything, is just started with our Travis Scott and Don Toliver niche and stuck with that all the way through, which would have resulted in getting placements earlier. So if you're already doing sample packs, put your head down, stay consistent, and stay on the grind. If you haven't started doing sample packs yet, start them ASAP. We've got a full guide on how to make and release a full sample pack, and it's going to help you guys make the highest quality sample packs that you can make. That video will be linked in the description. The second action you need to take is to build your brand and build your following. Having a brand and a following is a wild card to connecting with producers and artists and making placements so much easier. When you've built a big brand and community, there's a level of respect that other producers have for you just because you've built a loyal audience. Collabing with who you want to becomes so much easier once you have this brand and audience. You'll be surprised at who reaches out to you, even if they're bigger and more successful producers. Even with our small loyal following, we're surprised at the level of producers who reach out to us to work. It's insane. Here are 3 steps that you can do to start growing your brand today. Number 1, start making content. Whether you're doing vlogs, tutorials, or finding other creative ways to build a following, start making sick content that you can put out onto a YouTube channel that people are going to want to watch and relate to. Make sure you're giving lots and lots of value, and also make sure you're entertaining so people keep coming back to watch you. Don't hold back and never think you're giving too much away. If you're not the most on-camera person, this is a great way to practice your speech skills and confidence. But if you are one of these people who struggle on camera, we would just recommend making more value-based content rather than trying to entertain. And third, show your face and show your personality through your YouTube videos, your content, and your Instagram. Your whole brand is literally just about you. The reason people follow you and want to work with you is because they are attracted to your personality and your style of music. So whatever type of content you're doing on YouTube or Instagram, be as authentic as possible, crack some jokes, just be yourself. You'll be surprised at the following you can grow. In our experience, because of the brand we've built, we've had so many people reach out to us to use our samples, to collab on different music projects, and even offer their services completely for free just because they love our content and want to network with us. Alright boys, a super important part about landing placements is networking correctly. If you have a brand, networking is so easy. You'll see heaps of videos about how to network, and they always say, don't DM for loop email, don't DM, hey, let's work. However, once you've built a strong and reputable brand, you can do these things and it just works. This has become especially apparent to us in the last 2 months. We've worked with some crazy producers just reaching out, let's work, and they want to work with us because they've heard of us, they've seen our YouTube content, and they know that our music's hard. So we just wanted to put that out there to help convince you guys to start building your brand. But remember, you can't do any of that stuff if your brand isn't strong and reputable. Firstly, finding type beat producers in your niche. You can do this using YouTube or BEATSTARS. And also, don't forget to look out for the sample makers who are making the samples for all these big beat makers. See if you can reach out to them, see if you can make a new contact. Secondly, going through Spotify song credits. Usually these producers are more high level, unless you can find artists who are using producers beats with only a couple hundred or a couple thousand followers. This is one of the steps that, with a bigger following, the easier reaching out to these producers are going to be. Don't be trying to reach out to Wonder Girl or Boy Wonder. That's just fucking pointless. Really take your time to research who's making these songs, what's a realistic way I can get in contact with them, and how you can provide value to them and make a contact. Something that we've started doing heaps in the last couple months is connecting and collabing with other sample makers. Just like we touched on before, look out for the sample makers who are making all these loops for the top producers and try to work with them. When you've got collab loops and you're collabing with other sample makers, you're getting 2 times the amount of outreach for less work. We've had lots of successful beat placements with huge type beat producers going by this method. We're not sure why we neglected doing sample collabs a lot earlier on. Yo boys, we're just editing this video and we've realized we've left a massive networking tip out, and that is about using Instagram to find producers, which is what we've been doing heaps recently. If we're going through stories and we see someone that's been tagged, we click on their profile, see if they got credits, see what they've been up to, and then we just shoot them a DM straight out of there. All producers have an Instagram, and not all producers have a type beat channel or Spotify credits and those other ways you can find them. So there's some producers that you will only be able to find on Instagram, so keep that in mind. Just use Instagram as a tool. Obviously boys, we don't want to be mindlessly scrolling on Instagram, going through reels and stories. So make sure when you go on and you're looking for producers, that's the only reason you're on there. Just stay on task. You'll quite often find that people are just dropping their loop email, asking for different kinds of loops. So if you're looking through these producers' stories, make sure you've got loops to send for these opportunities. They can turn into good relationships and even placements.
Another underrated and hugely beneficial way of networking is by networking in person. So this really comes down to going to studios, going to producer events, and getting out talking to other musicians. This is going to work best if you are in a hot spot like the capital of a city where there's going to be a lot more artists and producers. Whatever music you make, there's going to be a country or city where there's going to be the most producers who make that sort of music. So when you get to that point where you can take music production full time, traveling to big cities where there's lots of production going on is so underrated. A great example of this is Dunk Rock, who produced Fuck You Mean and Cooler Than a Bitch by Gunna. The reason he was able to land those 2 songs, which is definitely the highlight of his career, was because he went to an in-person producer meetup where he met Trey Pounds, a successful music producer. He went up to Trey Pounds and asked him if he could send him loops. Trey Pounds gave him his loop email, and Dunk Rock then sent him loops for months and months, and eventually he landed Cooler Than a Bitch. With that one placement, he was able to land countless others, and that eventually led to him getting Fuck You Mean, the song with Gunna, which is absolutely popped off. So that just shows you the power of meeting up with people in person and networking in person.
Leading on from networking, now you need to be sending all your contacts your samples. First of all, start creating sample lists with Gmail extensions. We'd highly recommend MailTrack. It's completely free and it's what we use currently. So you want to be sorting your lists into genres and niches and even levels of producers. Our lists range from 2 to 5 people. We never have more than 5 contacts in a list, just to keep the samples as niche as possible to the people we're sending to. We always do our very best to send the right loops to fit other producers' styles, so we've got the highest chance of them actually using the samples. We send 2 to 4 loops every week or so. You don't want to be sending these loops out too often and just become known as the spammy guy who just is always sending loops out. We always stress this as much as we can. Be careful who you're sending these loops to. We want all of you watching this to be as successful as possible, but that's not going to happen if you're being careless with who you're sending loops to and just spamming random people with loops. Also, an important tip we've got, especially if you're using MailTrack, is that if you can see that people aren't opening your loops consistently, just take them off your list and stop sending to them. If Gmail sees that you're just consistently sending emails to people who aren't opening them, it increases the chances of all your other emails going into spam. Alright boys, those 4 actions that we just covered are the things that you should be focusing on the most. These 4 things are going to be giving you the biggest return on investment for your time. However, we've got some small extra tasks that you can do that are all going to benefit you in the long run and just help you land those placements even faster. Number 1, post stories previewing your loops. This is a fantastic way to engage your following, whether they're beat makers or sample makers. Whenever we do this, we always get beat makers asking us to send them loops to their email, and also quite commonly, we get sample makers asking for starters from us. Secondly, exporting your loops correctly. This may not seem like a big deal, but making sure your loops are labeled correctly with the right BPM, key, and Instagram handle for people to find you just makes people think of you way more highly and professional. Lastly, staying consistent with your Instagram stories and highlights. Even if you've got a day where you can't make any music, you can post photos in the gym, going out for a walk, just sick photos with a nice view, and anything that's just going to consistently engage your audience. The final step is the hardest for most producers, and it's where most producers will just quit and give up on their music career. And that is having the patience to wait it out and play the long game. We didn't see any success of our loops getting placed within the first 8 months of us doing these sample packs. And that was with 2 of us working. So boys, the best advice we can give to you is stick with it, put all your energy, put all your time and effort into these samples and into your work, and the universe will reward you. Getting that first placement, it's a huge achievement, whether it's big or small. Since our first placement, even though it's pretty small, we've just had heaps of different placements rolling in since then, and we've just got a completely new hunger to just hustle and just be the best we can be. So just grind out for that first placement, it will come soon. Once you've got a placement, the next most important thing is getting paid, which can be super frustrating sometimes. But that's for a different video, boys. Boys, if you've got any questions to do with what we've talked about in this video, or anything else to do with music and life, just hit us up on Instagram, email us, whatever's easier. We want to help you guys out as much as we can. Alright boys, see you in the next video.